should go from here? There are many thanks to be said today, and for good reason, because so many people have done so many good things and important things over the years to help make this day possible. Some are obvious and identifiable, like the labor you already mentioned of various family members who came to Mahopac earlier this week to mow the lawns and put up this tent and perform other sometimes tedious tasks that needed doing, all provided with cheer and never a complaint. Others are more obscure, the sort of little interactions each of you have had with Dan and Iris, some intentional and some accidental, that help nudge them along their paths through life, part of a history that has shaped them to be so perfectly suited to one another. To all these thanks, I'd like to add one of my own, Dan and Iris. Thank you for the surprise and the great honor you've shown me by asking me to officiate at your wedding. I can't imagine anything else that would make me feel more a part of your family, and I already felt pretty comfortable in your family. It's a form of welcoming and a privilege I couldn't have hoped or asked for. I'm not generally known for my good memory, but this is a gift that I will never forget. And it is emblematic of your inclusive and generous nature. Foremost, of course, is the generosity that each of you delight in sharing with one another. The traditional wedding vows include the commitment between bride and groom to remain supportive in sickness and in health. Your vows also include this pledge, though of course made concrete and meaningful in your own words. What's unusual about your marriage is that you two have shown and lived the depth of this commitment already, having supported one another in times that are far more difficult than most married couples endure, certainly in the early years of their time together. You have shown the world, not to mention yourselves, that you are already married in every way that matters, other than jointly filed taxes. Today's ceremony is merely a public confirmation and celebration of the union you have long since made on your own. And now Jerry would like to say a few words.
First, I also want to thank you folks for being here. It's wonderful the way this wedding has been working out. Sort of ad hoc, sort of like the tent, cut through the trees here and ropes and a tarp and so on. And somehow it has come together. Everybody came here and helped out and worked and cooked huge amounts of food unendingly, and not just for this meal now, but for a week or so. And it's really been, it's wonderful. It really has been a good family feeling. And that's important in terms of the wedding also, in terms of the marriage also, because when people get married to each other, their families to some extent merge, and their sets of friends and so on to some extent merge and overlap. That's our experience. And I think that'll be very good, especially for Dan and Iris, getting a good start on this broader image of family and friends. In terms of the marriage itself, I'm not going to give them the usual sorts of advice. They already have a wonderful relationship and know how to be good to each other and are determined to work at it. They already have the awareness that one does this, gets married, for better and for worse, for richer and for poorer, in sickness and health, mainly because they love each other so much and they really want to develop their relationship. So beyond that, I will just say thanks again.
And Karen would like to say a few words about the rings.
I promise to give them back. These rings have a special significance for our family, and it's very moving to me to give them to my own son, my beloved son, and my daughter-in-law, who I really sincerely feel I want to welcome. You want to hold them? You can hold them for a minute. I sincerely feel that we should welcome very enthusiastically to our family the smaller of these two rings. First of all, they were both made by my father's side. The smaller of the two rings is the ring that I saw on my mother's finger when I was a child. That was her wedding ring. After a while, she outgrew it a little bit, so she got another one, which my father also made. But this ring has a special significance for me, and it's what I wore around my neck in commemoration of her death for many years. But I think that it's better for it to commemorate something beautiful and life-giving. The other ring was also made by my father. I think it was probably supposed to be his wedding ring, but he never wore a ring. He was a dentist and he was constantly washing his hands all day long. But I found it in my mother's jewelry box when he died. And I'm sure it's one of the very beloved rings that he also made. And he used to love doing this. And his whole spirit is in Mahopac, as many people know, because this was his family place, which he loved above every place in the world. So it's very lovely and meaningful to give these particular rings to these two people who, you know, if I could give my love with them, I would do that. They also have another story associated with them, which is like a chain. When I found these rings, Dan and Iris were living in California, and the rings were in my drawer in Manhattan. So I asked Aunt Judy if she could get the rings to Dan and Iris, and Aunt Judy's daughter Karen took them and gave them to Aunt Judy, and Aunt Judy kept them safely for 6 weeks until she went to California and kept them in her carry-on luggage, and then she gave them to her daughter Lisa, and her daughter Lisa carried them up to Northern California and met with Dan and Iris, and Dan and Iris got to know Lisa, and Lisa invited them to her Seder, and they got to know her son Jeremy, who's here taking pictures, and who was, you know, especially invited because Dan and Iris met Jeremy. So there are all kinds of chains of relationships that are represented by these rings, and that's really what wedding rings are for. They're, as we said at the last wedding, they're a circle, and they represent the continuation, the continuing circle, and the holding together of the relationship. And so, congratulations, and I don't have hope. I guess they will get the rings.
Thanks, Mom. That's really beautiful, and we're really excited to be able to wear rings that aren't just, you know, a product of the wedding industrial complex, but actually have not only the significance of the marriage, but also were made by my grandfather. And I know my grandma Ruth would have adored Iris, and I believe that Cy and Ruth would have been extremely happy to know that Iris and I would wear their rings. So it's really a blessing, and we're very lucky to have not only these rings, but also the ring pillow and the hookah cover that were made or handmade by Iris's Aunt Sharon and carried here by Iris's mother.
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you as well, Karen, and also Aunt Judy. My Aunt Sharon could not be here today, but she made the hookah cover and also the ring pillow. And so I feel like she is here in spirit.
Dan and Iris, did you exchange vows, please?